Thanks for having me here, but I'm going to ask everyone to stand up so that we can stretch our legs. We've all been sitting for a little while, and then I'm going to ask a couple of questions, and maybe we can sit down based upon these questions. Inside of your organization, if you have customer support or customer service or customer experience, you may have a seat. All right. For those left standing, if you have sales inside of your organization, please have a seat. All right, you got to tell me what you do.
Charity.
I'm sorry?
Charity.
Charity?
Yeah, it's not sales.
I disagree. You raise money, right?
The IRS would disagree.
I know what you're saying, but you're fundraising, so that's sales. So I'll leave it at that. White Dialpad. Dialpad is a all-in-one AI-powered communication system. Whether we're powering communications for human employees or digital employees, it is all happening on one single integrated platform. Now, the power of that is the data that your organization has always had, but never really had access to. How many of you record phone calls? Who remembers that? But how many of those phone calls were ever reviewed or listened to for any purposes, whether quality or anything else? Give me a guess. Jim, you would know. 2% is about right. I, 20 years ago, was one of those people reviewing those calls. And I would just tell you from a personal fact, if I had to do it, I waited to the last day of the month. I picked the 5 shortest calls per associate to do it, so I filled out my rubric, not because I was a bad employee, but how many of you don't go to meetings all day, every day, most days? Mine's full of them. So at what point can you start to mine this data if no one's looking at it? Well, that's where our trusty sidekick, as everybody's been talking about, AI comes into place. So if you start to think about it, I'll tell you about one of my favorite customers, B&I, Business Networking International. These guys are a professional services of networking groups. What I really, really like about B&I is they're a sales-led organization. If anybody's ever dealt with a membership service where people are having that sort of thing go, the sellers are also the support agents. So they really, really want to deliver a high level of service so that they can continue to renew memberships. Well, B&I was introduced to Dialpad, and the IT team had zero bandwidth to help them. So Brooks, the sales director, thought the project was going to be dead because IT said they can get to him in 2.5 years. That's how they were backed up. So we all got together, we put our heads together, and we said, Dialpad will deliver the project, Brooks. If you'll be the project manager, all you have to do is get approval from IT. They said, hey, if we don't have to touch it, you got it. So we were able to roll it out. But what's magical is, since they've been using it, there's things inside of the platform, like an AI playbook. I like to think of this as your Hansel and Gretel breadcrumbs that will guide you through any conversation that you need to have. So when I show up, as you guys might imagine, might flake out a little bit. I may forget a few key things when I'm trying to renew a membership, or something that's very valuable about said membership that I need to know to connect with you so that you sign. It's right in the call flow, if you will. So now I don't have to worry about what am I missing, what I didn't do. The AI is listening on my behalf, taking that. But what if you ask me a question that I don't have a clue about that's not in the playbook? Well, we also have live coaching cards that pop in with all of the data in real time so that you can navigate a complex conversation while remaining to be personable and have all of your humanity. So I refer to it as our digital sidekick, right? Who in here does not want a digital sidekick to help them get through their day-to-day? Raise your hands if you don't want one. I'll take that as everybody does. So within that helpfulness, right, You've got that frontline associate who can now bring all of their personality and empathy to a conversation, but know that they have the consistency of said conversation. So each and every business conversation appears very, very similar with the exception of the personality of each person. And that's the value of that solution. But we all talk about what that frontline associate gets from this, right? Everybody's more productive, they're more efficient, they can handle more calls. What about second and third level leadership? How many of you guys are in here supervise at least one person or a team of people? What tools come in to help you? Very few focus on that second level. But all of those things we're talking about that help that agent, all of that data is gathered and presented in a single dashboard. So when you hear people talk about, oh, now 100% of my calls are quality reviewed, well, we have that, but we also give you that playbook score. We give you an AI CSAT score. We give you sentiment analysis in a single dashboard. So when I look, Doug, who's here with me, is the worst performer on our team, and I can see it visibly in every category. So automatically, from a leadership perspective, I know who to coach, when to coach them, and what their coaching needs are. So now if I take all of the best behaviors that we picked up by observing all of the conversations and begin to coach Doug to start to do things the way Lori does them, Doug then improves, but at the same time, I can help twist the knobs just a little bit to make Lori that much better as well. How many of you guys who had your hands up a second ago think things like that would be useful? That's fantastic. So I'll share a story. Brooks shared with me about Beth G. Beth G, in his mind, was and still is their very best associate. Extremely high performer, just crushing it on a day in, day out basis. However, he said this one day in the office, she had her head down, she was moping around a bit, and he's like, what's going on? She's like, I just don't feel good about my performance, I don't feel good about what I'm doing, things along those lines. So he said, Beth, come with me. He took her into his office, sat down, he pulled up his coaching hub, that panel with all the data, and straight across the board, he could show her that her performance was leaps and bounds above everyone else's. So she went from having a bit of imposter syndrome to knowing that she was the rock star that she actually was. And he said what's magical about it is her performance even increased more. So she began to separate herself more and more from her crowd. And then something that I'll never forget that he told me, he's like, the best gift we all have to give is good, positive feedback. So when we can confirm those feedback loops, your best people become better, your middlers are going to be even better than they were. So there's a stat that says AI will improve your top performers about 40%, but your bottom performers by about 80%. I mean, these are now tools that are making a meaningful impact inside of the organization. But I would even start to say we need to kind of start thinking about them as a technology as a teammate. So it's no longer just a tool that you use, but every associate's going to have a team of those teammates that they're going to be working with. And we hate to admit it, but it won't just be Dialpad. There might be some Gemini in there, there'll be some OpenAI in there, there'll be Salesforce, there'll be ServiceNow. All of these digital employees will come together to work together to make everybody's life better. Now, our philosophy is humans on the loop. Humans have to be in the loop and supervising everything that goes on, but that's how both performers, human and digital, become better. Speaking of, you're gonna hear, and you probably heard a little bit earlier, everybody wants to automate everything. Don't do it. Start with the things that your people don't want to do, the low-hanging fruit, repetitive, things you have data on, things you can measure, and what you'll notice is the quality of that experience will be better. The associates who used to perform those meaningless tasks will be much happier. We have a large chain restaurant that just rolled out one of our agents. I thought this was dead, personally, but strictly to do password resets. I thought password resets were just a thing of the past. People had a password manager now. We were all good. But turns out servers don't really care about the passwords of your system. The average server is only employed with an organization for about 6 months. And in that 6-month time frame, according to this restaurant, they do about 3 password resets. So we were able to automate that for a cost savings of around $600,000 per year for this one restaurant simply on password resets. I don't know about you, but it seems like a meaningful amount of dollars to drive to the bottom line to save for one simple application. So if you think about all of those things that you can multiply throughout the organization, what could it mean? What could those cost savings be? One last quick story. ProLiant Surgeons, geez, I was thinking Resurgence where I had my surgery, but no. ProLiant is the largest orthopedic surgery group out in the West. They were having some troubles because they had combined all of these groups and they had a lot of different technology stack. And how many of you guys would guess the age of the average person calling in for a surgery practice? They're older than Jim and I both. So when they call in, you can't miss the call. You can't have a high wait time. You can't have someone who's taking the call that's not knowledgeable. And now, by having all of the correct systems in place, they were able to take 25% more calls by breaking it out into a calling pod. They were able to use their data to realize that they needed another surgeon on staff because they weren't able to provide one particular type of surgery that a lot of people were calling in for, which was really, really robust need. And then they were able to save $40,000 annually on their expenses. Their group of doctors own it, so that they really liked. And the last thing, and I'm drawing a blank, so it always happens on the last data point, damn it. But it'll come back to me in a second. Jeez. That makes me mad. No, I won't make it up because it's purely blanked out on me. All of that to say is, there is a platform available that will sound similar to others you talk to that has been doing this AI thing for much longer, creating data, creating a searchable database for your organization so that all of the data your customers have been telling you, all of the feedback they've been telling you can be surfaced, searched, and even put a ChatGPT sort of interface on the analytics portal so you can ask questions about the things you do and don't know to get data surfaced to you. With that being said, I thank you guys for allowing me to speak with you today. Mike White with Dialpad.